See, look who's in the studio from the Daily Caller. He is Vince Colanese, and from the terrific new magazine Common Sense, Chris Bedford. Okay, it's good to see you both.
It's great to be here in person.
Okay, so it's good to see you, and we love having you in the studio. Okay, here's what's going on. Dr. Fauci, he says, I didn't shut anything down. We've got the tape. Yeah, he did say it. Watch.
Was it a mistake in so many states and so many localities to see schools closed as long as they were?
I had nothing to do.
I mean,
let's get down to the facts. I didn't shut down anything. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And the only way to do that is by draconian means of essentially shutting down a country. We know that we can do that if we shut down. Well, if I knew at the time that shutting down would have such a dramatic effect on controlling the spread, obviously we would have shut down earlier.
Chris, what's going on here?
And when Ron DeSantis opened up the schools early in Florida and said we're going back, Fauci attacked him and said, no, your kids can't go to school. And they're sitting here, I used to live on Capitol Hill before he fled for this very reason, showing up every day with a first grader, but then a kindergartner who's trying to get in, face masks and surgical gloves, and teachers saying, oh my gosh, it's shut down again. We're shutting down for 2 more weeks. Your kid can't learn. Your kid can't learn. The whole time he was saying that.
How can he say he didn't say?
His ego. His ego will make him lie. But he's on tape saying he said shut down.
He is. I mean, at this point, he is just like this bizarre Orwellian figure who will announce something new and then pretend like the past never occurred, even though we have this tape. In fact, I bet you if Fauci was here tonight, you could show him the tape and he could pretend it wasn't even real. Because Fauci, remember, it might be hard to remember. Remember what it was like in 2020. Every utterance that came out of Anthony Fauci's mouth, mid-level bureaucrats, random local state officials, were all saying whatever Fauci says we're going with. They had the Fauci prayer candles out. It was insane. So when Fauci was like, hey, don't look at me, I didn't have this much influence, he had tons of influence.
He's the one who said shut the country down. Him and Dr. Deborah Birx. He's the one.
Yes.
He's the one who said, and everybody followed it.
And the effects of that were immense, of course. Look at our children who got set back, maybe permanently in some cases, in terms of their education, the social development, the fact that these kids have been out of school, a disaster.
And inflation and
the attacks on any of his critics. Scientists who spoke out, he said, I am science. Journalists who spoke out, he and his allies said, shut them down. It was unending, and they worked to undermine the administration, too.
We got to show this. Researchers at Tel Aviv University. 2 antibodies are so effective it could wipe out the need for vaccines. That's what Israeli researchers are finding. So in other words, the vaccines were focusing on the spike protein, which mutates a lot. They said, no, look at where the spike protein enters the cell wall and get the antibodies there. So that's what they're finding, and they're saying we may not need boosters. This is what's going on in Israel, game changer study. And we've got to show this because this is a separate Fauci story, that the Humane Society did its biggest rescue in 67 years of its history, and that is the release of hundreds of beagles that were used for really appalling, cruel drug testing on beagles. So that's also his legacy as well. But, he is about protecting his legacy now.
It's all about, he's obsessed with this. It's like every time I turn around, he's on some other magazine cover or some other television show.
And, this goes exactly to the heart of who he is. And I hope that his legacy is this, that American people finally wake up and are eyes wide open to the fact that when someone says this is the science, how dare you question it? Whether it's on COVID policy, whether it's on global warming, whatever they're talking about, that's not true. That's the opposite of what science is, which is discovery, questioning, asking things. Anthony Fauci's rules expose so much of the corruption and rot that exists within the scientific community, that exists within the bureaucracies and the healthcare systems. If there's a positive legacy, it's that.
What do you say, Vince? Good point.
He's destroyed faith in our institutions in a big way. He's admitted to lying in public about things like herd immunity. He doesn't deserve the glowing profiles he constantly gets.
So he's going to step down, but he'll still be doing work, though, right? He'll still be out there.
I mean, whatever work he's doing, it'll be signed off by his wife, who's the top ethicist at the same agency.
Okay, all right. Vince Colanese, Chris Bedford. We're having a ball here in D.C. We have been coming to you live from Washington.